This is Russ. Yeah, I'm back out on the road again. You might notice me going really slow right now. Yeah, what are we doing? 11.1 miles per hour. Yeah, I'm on cruise control right now. And the reason I decided to do it this way is I have some information I want to pass on to you, and I was going to read this off my cell phone, but I recognized that it's hard to see this in the sun, so I figured I better go slow as I'm doing this. So what am I riding right now? Yeah, I'm riding the Magicycle Deer 20, and I picked this one specifically because it does cruise control. Alright, so by now, many of you probably realize that there's going to be some changes in the pricing of e-bikes. Yeah, if you're not familiar with that, you will be soon. So let me read you this article, part of this article that I saw on it. I was doing my research, I was looking through the different things, and I was like, I don't want to say it wrong or anything, so maybe I'll just quote it off of something. So I got this off of the Inside Climate News article. So let me just read it to you. It says, in May, the Biden administration slapped new tariffs on a range of Chinese goods, including a 100% levy on electric vehicles. Though few Chinese EVs are sold in the United States, the decision reflects a tense trade war between the two countries, and the administration's fear that China will soon bombard the market with cheap electric cars. However, a different type of vehicle may be getting caught in the crossfire. On May 19th, the Office of the United States Trade Representative announced that e-bike batteries will be subject to new 25% tariffs. All right, hold on here. I'm gonna have to navigate the cars here first. All right, I'm gonna go. Sit tight. Let me pass through here first. Okay. Let me get back into that. On May 19th, the Office of the United States Trade Representative announced that the e-bike batteries will be subject to new 25% tariffs starting in 2026, a jump from the 7.5% tax currently levied on these products. At the same time, a provision that allowed Chinese imports of e-bikes and their parts to be excluded since 2018 from an existing 25% tariff is set to expire on June 14th, meaning prices could go up much sooner than 2026, reports The Verge. I guess so. She's kind of quoting The Verge, and this is from Inside Climate News that I just read this from. Now, let's talk a little bit about all this, okay? I kept thinking, am I going to remember all this stuff? My memory's pretty bad. So I figured the best thing was just to kind of quote it, read it, quote it to you. So here's the thing. Here's what it boils down to. If you haven't already heard, and many others have already reported this, and I decided I probably should report it. I mean, the whole thing is my usage of an e-bike has always been about my knee, to help my knee and everything. It wasn't really to be e-bike news reporting, but it does affect us all. So it kind of was important for me to at least mention this. So here's my feeling on this whole thing, okay? E-bike prices are going to go up. It's as simple as that. I mean, there's no way that the manufacturers who are bringing these products into the United States are going to eat 25% and just not pass that off to you, the consumer, right? So yeah, our prices are going to go up. And many thought that it wouldn't happen until at least 2026, but others are now saying that, that could happen on June 14th. Now, is it already happening? By the time this video comes out, yeah, it's going to already be happening, because even like Aventon, if you check their website, they already mentioned that they are raising their prices as of today, as you're watching this video on Monday. So I don't think they will be the only company that will be raising prices. There will be other companies who will follow suit and start raising prices. Now, this is for new products that are coming into the United States. So if there's existing products in their warehouse, obviously the cost of those prices haven't gone up to them because they're already here in the US. But any new products coming into the United States by June 14th, yeah, their prices are going up, which means our prices are going to be going up as we buy them as consumers. So here's what many of the people reporting on e-bikes have been saying. They're basically saying this: if you've been thinking about buying an e-bike, you better buy it now. That's what they're all telling you. You better buy it now before the thing goes up in price. Now, there's no guarantee that on June 14th that the prices will go up. Okay, if that company has a number of bikes in their warehouse that they didn't pay extra taxes on, they may just keep the prices exactly the same. On the other hand, that's not necessarily meaning that all of the companies will do that. And other companies may be having products coming in still, and they're just going to say, you know what, to make our lives easier, we'll just raise the prices on all of them. And we'll call it June 14th. I mean, in the case of Aventon, they're calling it, well, whatever date Monday is. I don't even know what the date is there. What is it? June 9th today. So tomorrow, June 10th, they're going up in prices on June 10th, okay, which is the day you're watching this video. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy a bike right away, because I don't know whether prices are going to go up for the brand that you're looking at or not. But I'll tell you this: start thinking about it, if not acting upon it, because the chances are it will go up. It's just a matter of when it will be going up. That's all. So here's what I encourage you to do. Check it all out yourself. Again, I didn't want to misquote anything. That's why I decided just to read it. You could read these things too. You could read the same article if you want. Just go on Google and just type in e-bike tariffs, and then look at some of the reports. Check the dates also. Some of the reports that you'll read are older reports that may not necessarily be applicable, but read some recent reports, and I think you'll notice a trend of everyone pretty much giving you the forewarning that it's going to go up. So yeah, that's kind of a downer. It's kind of a downer to hear that, but it's the reality of what's going on. So, after having that downer, any good news? Well, you know, in my case, I've been lucky that I've only really had to really pay for one e-bike of all the e-bikes I've had. I bought my first e-bike, well, has it been now? A little over 3 years ago. And from that point on, I've been lucky enough to be able to get e-bikes given to me by the manufacturers in exchange for video reviews of their bike. And of course, not just reviews, but I also use the bikes on my daily rides, and I talk about their bikes, you know, while I'm riding the bikes and everything. I don't have to, really. I'm not obligated to, but I like to talk about the bikes. So I've been lucky in that sense. I don't know how they will deal with it in the future, you know, for influencers to get products at this point. It's going to cost them more money, but if they pass the cost on to you, I mean, it doesn't really much matter to them at this point. If everyone else is paying for it, right? I just don't see the manufacturers absorbing the money. I see them passing it on to the consumer. That's usually what's going to happen anyway. So yeah. So anyway, for me, I do have one bike that have already come in. I mentioned that on one of the videos that you probably have already seen, that a bike was coming in. Yeah, it came in. It's already been built. I've already ridden about, I don't know, 25 miles on it already, something like that. So I've got to make a review of that particular bike. And then I have another bike coming in, I think tomorrow. FedEx mentions that it's coming in early. They always say this. Originally Tuesday, coming in early Monday. That's what it says. And it's already in Chicago, because I saw on their app, it kind of tells you, you know, what the progress is on on the tracking, and it showed it was in Chicago yesterday, which would have been Saturday. So there's no reason why it shouldn't make it here on Monday. All right, so that's another bike. And then another bike is supposed to be coming in Wednesday. Originally thought Thursday. They always say this. I don't know why they do that. Originally Thursday, coming in Wednesday. But again, it could show up on Thursday. It usually does. That first bike that came in, yeah, that's exactly what happened. It said it would be coming in on Tuesday because we originally thought Wednesday. Well, it showed up on Wednesday. Here's a trend that I noticed too about FedEx. We're going to be downers about everything. Let's talk about some more downer stuff. I noticed that every time that happens, they always say the reason it happened was because they couldn't read the barcode on the bike, so they had to recode it with a new barcode. So that added an extra day. Really? Every single bike that comes in, they can't read any of their barcodes? What is the deal with that? So I look on the boxes, and I'm looking at the old barcode, supposedly. And I said, could I read this thing? I could read it. I don't know what their scanner's problem is that they can't read it. I think they use that as an excuse. And they've used it way too many times as an excuse why things don't come in on the day that they think it's going to come in. So, or it could just be me, but I don't think so. I think it's just a trend that they use to buy themselves another day. I don't know why they do that. I mean, I most really rather say if they say, hey, it's going to be in on Wednesday, don't tell me it's going to maybe be on Tuesday. Just say it's Wednesday. And that way, when it shows up, I mean, let it sit in your warehouse if you wanted to. But if you tell me Wednesday and it shows up Wednesday, I will be happy, right? It's supposed to be Wednesday, then you tell me Tuesday, and it doesn't show up Tuesday, then it comes back on Wednesday. It makes you look stupid. Of course, if you don't get a whole lot of packages from FedEx, you may never notice that. But I get enough packages that I notice that time and time again. So they either have lousy barcode generator things, or everybody has lousy barcode generator things, and then all of them suffer because of it. I have no idea. It's nuts. All right, so anyways, we're riding the Deer 20, and I wanted to mention something about this product as well. Somebody sent a message to me. I guess they were looking at the review of the Deer 26. That's a 26-inch wheel version of the bike I'm riding right now. And the person said, hey Russ, which do you like better, this Deer 26 or the Himiway, how did he put it, the Himiway Cobra / D7? Now, that's a tough question to answer. For a couple of reasons, that's a tough question to answer. Anytime you guys ask me, what do you like better? Okay. I don't like any of them better. I really don't. I don't think there's one that I actually think is perfect. There's always something about the bike that's not as good as I think it could be. And then there's always something about the bike that's better than somebody else's bike. Okay, Russ, that's a cop-out. You're not answering the question. No, it's true. I really don't have a favorite between the two. So here's how I answered the question for him. I said, as a bike, as far as performance-wise, in terms of, you know, when you're riding the bike, the Deer 26, that is, the Deer 26. It reacts really quickly, meaning if you hit the throttle, it immediately reacts. If you pedal, it immediately reacts, okay? And there's no delay. The Himiway D7, there's a slight delay, and they do this on purpose, okay? They do it on purpose because they don't want it to jerk, so they put a slight delay on it, and then it moves, okay? Whether you pedal or whether you throttle. So in that sense, I would have to say I prefer the Deer 26, right? However, these are two full suspension bikes. Man, listen to the cicadas. They're really loud on this one. Wow, they must have a lot of cicadas around here. So the suspension on the Himiway, I think I like better. Yeah, it's a air suspension in the back and an air suspension in the front fork that are totally adjustable based on how you pump in the air, right? Can't do that on the Deere. The Deere has a spring-loaded thing in the back. I think it's some type of hydraulic fork in the front, but you can't adjust that suspension. So in that sense, I prefer the Deere, the Himiway D7 over the Deere 26. So what do you prefer? Neither one of them. Neither one does all of the stuff I like. I like the fact of the faster reaction time on the Deere, but I also like the fact that the Himiway has a nicer suspension. I mean, the highlights of the bike is its suspension, right? So in that sense, the Himiway, right? Yeah, but it doesn't react as quickly as the Deere. And it doesn't have cruise control. The Deere has cruise control. So how do you answer a question like that? How do you answer that question? I really can't answer that question. So whenever you ask me questions like, what do you like better, this or that? Yeah, I'm not going to really want to answer that question. Because they all have failings and they all have good points. So there you go. I don't think there's one bike I could say this one bike tops all of them. I can't really say that. Not yet. Maybe somebody will have one for me that'll be able to make me say that. But right now, I can't say that. So my preferences depends on what I want to do, and that's why I've kept these bikes. I keep so many bikes. I ride the different bikes for the different purposes. Like today, why did I take this bike? Well, first off, I don't have to worry about the fact that if I hop off the bike or anything like that, as I was reading that article, that I'm going to hurt myself or anything like that, because it's a step-through design, 20-inch wheel, makes it a little bit easier too, and it's got cruise control. But if it didn't have all that stuff, would I have chosen this bike to do what I was doing today? And the answer would have been no. So, can't really answer the question. I have a hard time answering those kind of questions. So, yeah, don't ask me one's better of this or that, because I'm going to answer exactly the same way. This one does better at this one does better at that. I mean, even if you ask me the same question for the Deere 20 or 26, I mean, hey Russ, which Deere do you like better, the 26-inch version or the 20-inch version? You know how I would answer that question? I would say, well, the 26-inch version, no matter what, if I hit bumps on the road, it doesn't feel like as much of a major bump to me, because it's a bigger tire going over that pothole or whatever it is I hit. But the 20-inch version, hey, yeah, that thing's more nimble. I could maneuver quicker and easier. I have a better chance of control that way. You see what I'm saying? Even within the same model, within the same brand, I can't even answer that question for that one, because I choose it based on what I plan to use it for that particular ride. Now let's go into another topic. I mentioned that the Rad power bikes, what was that thing called? The Radster Road Large bike, right? Yeah, that blue bike. I mentioned, hey, when that thing comes in, I'm going to do a review and sell off the bike right away, right? Checking to see who's behind us on the mirror there. Yeah, that didn't happen. I still have the bike. I have a story to tell you about that bike. And then I said, okay, if Mrs. Wright likes that bike, we may just sell off the Pedigo, which is the one that she likes as well. And then she'll keep the Rad bike if she likes it. Or if she doesn't like the Rad bike, we'll keep the Pedigo and we'll sell off the Rad bike. Okay? Well, we got both of them still. Why is that? Why is that? Let me tell you why that is. Okay? Okay, first off, after I did the review of the Radster Road Large, they have a regular and a large. We have the large. The large is for supposedly taller people. It has a extra bar, 2 extra little bars that go across, making the bike more of a mid-step than a step-through, really. And so I did the review of that bike. And then a couple days later, I decided to take the bike out again, try to go a little more distance with it, see how it does, right? And Mrs. Wright had not even ridden the bike yet. All right, she didn't get a chance to. It was a weekday at the time. And so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna take the bike out. We already did the review. We know it's working fine. Let's just take it. So I took the bike, and I started heading towards the Prospect Heights Trail, okay? So I went out about maybe, I don't know, 6 miles, something like that. Riding the bike fairly conservatively. I wasn't going crazy or anything like that on it, just riding it on the street to get to the Prospect Heights Trail. So I crossed over, what was it, Wheeling Road. Wow, their cicadas are really loud here. I think it's the loudest I've heard. So anyway, I crossed over Wheeling Road, started to get moving again, and yeah, no power. I go, hey, what happened? No power. So I decided, okay, well, if there's no power, let me pull off a little bit and take a look to see what's going on. So no matter what I did, no power. Totally dead. I said, great, I'm 6 miles away. I says, am I able to pedal this bike back? It's like 73 pounds or something like that. Put on pedal assist, well, no pedal assist, but I put it on gear number 1. Yeah, you know how hard it is to ride a bike at gear number 1? So I moved it to 2. You know how hard it is to pedal a bike that's heavy? I said, no way am I going to be able to pedal this 6 miles out. I can't do it. So I called Mrs. Wright. Luckily, I wasn't too far from where she works, and it was near lunchtime. Seems like every time I have an issue, like the flat tire I had on the Deere 26, it was around lunchtime as well. I called her up and I says, hey, you busy now? She knew something was up. She goes, what? I said, come pick me up. So she picked me up. We stuffed the bike inside the back of the SUV. Couldn't take the front wheel off because it's a through axle. I didn't have any tools with me again. Terrible. And she dropped me off at home. My lawn care guys helped me take the bike out of the car. They were surprised how heavy the bike was. And then she went back to work. So I contacted Rad, and you know, I mentioned who I was and that I have a YouTube channel. The guy knew who I was. Yeah, the service guy knew who I was. He goes, I know who you are. I go, well, okay. All right, I'm gonna make a U-turn here. There's nobody here. Let's make a quick U-turn. I gotta head back. So, so I told him the situation. He goes, oh, says, I'm sorry that happened. So after talking through the circumstances of how it occurred, that just literally died, and I said the battery seems to still light up, but there's no power going to the thing. I said that I'm gonna guess this thing is either the display screen and or the controller. And he says, I agree. It's really windy. I can't hear myself talking right now. He says, I agree. Based on what's happened and the fact that you obviously know e-bikes, yeah, it's probably be one of those two things. So I said, so what should I do? He says, I'm going to send you out parts. I'm going to send you out the parts for the controller and the display screen. Change them both out. So I said, well, I noticed that you have some authorized service centers. And there's one that's not too far from me. It's in Arlington Heights. And he goes, oh yeah, we have those centers that you could either do it yourself. He says it's actually very easy to do. You just open up the bottom of the down tube. It'll the display the controller will be right there. Unplug the controller wires, plug in the new one, slide it back in. Same thing with the display screen. Take off the display screen, plug in the new wires. That's it. So I was gonna do it myself. And Mrs. Wright says, no, let the repair guys do it. I says, I can do this myself. She goes, no, let them do it, because first off, if anything else happens that it's not those two things, you don't want them to be able to say that, well, maybe you messed up somewhere. Yeah, she had a good point. And since there was a authorized repair center not too far from me, I said, yeah, let's just do that. Let's just let them do it. So I brought it to them, and the place is called Village Cycle Sports in Arlington Heights. Give them a shout out. So I brought it to them, and I asked them, I said, Rad told me to let you guys bill them once you're finished. And they said, that's not how we did it in the past. We would typically repair it, charge you, and then you get the money back from Rad. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Why should I have to do that? I said, first off, Rad told me they would be reimbursing you. So they said, well, we don't know if they will or they won't. And it was, I think at that time, it was Memorial Day weekend. So he says, well, why don't you just leave the bike here? Let us call Rad to find out and clarify what the situation is. And then we'll call you on Tuesday and let you know what the result was. Now, you might remember that I had a video where I was riding. I said, I'm going to go someplace, but I never made it there. I had to turn around and take that phone call and get out of there. That was because that was the bike shop calling me at the time. Well, they called Rad and they asked them, what's the deal with this? And they said, yeah, that's true. We've changed some policies. We will reimburse you guys directly. So they called me to tell me that, yeah, everything's fine. Bring the controller. I dropped off the bike, but I forgot to bring the controller and the display screen with me. So I had to bring those parts to them. And so I dropped it off to them, and they said, yeah, Rad will pay us directly. You don't have to worry about it. All right, great. But then later on, they called me and says, hey, we seem to have a problem with the battery. The battery doesn't seem charged. It's not lighting up. And I said, no, it should be lighting up fully. It was a fully charged battery. It should only have 6 miles on that thing. It shouldn't be totally dead at that point. He goes, no, it's not dead. I mean, it's not on. It's like dead. And he says, could you bring the charger? Because we don't have a charger that'll fit this. I said, okay. So I drove the charger over to them. And the minute he plugged it in, yeah, battery kicked right back on. It showed almost fully charged. He goes, what's up with that? Now, we don't know. At that time, he still had the old controller on there. Was it the old controller stopping the battery to show the full power? Because it was basically trying to show the controller's condition? Or what? Or is it the battery issue? We don't know. So he says, well, okay. He says, just leave the stuff here. We'll figure it out. I'll call you when we're ready. So they played with it, and then they called me up and they said, well, Rad says, we'd like to find out if it's the battery. So can you guys ride the bike around the block a lot of times and get some miles on it and find out if the battery dies? Of course, they're not going to do that. They're just a bike shop. So they asked me to do it. I says, you want me to ride the bike around and maybe this thing's going to die out on me 6 miles away from where I am again? He says, no, just ride around the block. I says, for what, 30 miles? It's kind of ridiculous, right? But in reality, you have to do that because how else would you know? So I says, okay, fine. I says, did you change out the controller and the display screen? They said, no, not yet. I says, let's do this. Change out the controller and the display screen, and then I'll come and pick up the bike, and then I'll ride it around for 30 miles. Because it would be kind of ridiculous just to check the battery, and then of course if the controller and the display screen is no good, I'd be going back to them again to have that part changed again. So I said, no, change it out now. We already have the parts. It would only make sense. He goes, yeah, that's true. So they swapped it out. I picked up the bike, and so far Mrs. Wright has ridden the bike, I don't know how many miles, maybe 6 miles. and no problem so far. Now we don't know. We're gonna have to ride it some more, find out if there's gonna be any future problems with it, right? I personally don't think there will be. I think it was probably a bad controller, and I think when we swapped it out with the new part, it probably took care of the problem. But again, you want to double check everything. Now the bad part is this is a brand new bike. Think about it, it's just brand new. I mean, it could have happened to any one of the people who bought the bike, and I just hope that it's not a continual problem with this batch of bikes or anything. That maybe it was just bad luck that we happened to have one that had a bad controller on there. But so we're still testing the bike out. All right, so that's the issue with the Radster Road Large. Now, in the meantime, as Mrs. Wright rode the bike, I said, this is a torque sensor bike. It's going to be like that U-free bike. You're going to have to get used to the torque sensor. And like I told you, the only thing that she does when she rides that bike is she uses the throttle just to get off the line, just to get started, and then she'll pedal the rest of the way. We all know that. We see her all the time doing that. So I guess she had it on pedal assist level 3 at the time, and she goes, whoa, that thing lifted up the front tire. When she hit that throttle, she hit it harder than she thought. It kind of almost did a wheelie on her. So she says, I have to leave it on pedal assist level 2 when I hit that throttle, otherwise that thing will take off. So after she rode it for a while, I just said, well, what do you think? And she goes, yeah, I kind of like it. And she says she's getting used to the torque sensor. Let's take a right over here. She's getting used to the torque sensor. It has a turn signal thing, as you know. She kind of likes the fact that it has a turn signal. Yeah, turn signal is kind of interesting. When you turn on the left turn signal or right turn signal, it'll start blinking. But if you hit the brakes, the turn signal will stay lit. It'll be brighter and lit, but it won't blink. If you let go of the brake lever, then it continues to blink. Just something you should know in case you buy one of these things. But she says it is a heavier bike. It's heavier than the U-Free. So I said, well, between the two, which do you want? Which do you like better? She goes, I don't know. She likes the fact that you can swap the cadence sensor and torque sensor options on the U-Free. She said the U-Free does seem lighter in weight, which it is, but it's not that much lighter. It's only like, I don't know, 3 pounds lighter. But she says it feels a lot lighter. Well, whatever. Perception, maybe. And so she doesn't know. So I said, okay, what about this versus the Pedigo? She goes, oh, I kind of like the Pedigo. I says, do you want to keep the Pedigo? She goes, yeah, it'd be nice if we kept it. Well, what about the Rad? She goes, yeah, it'd be nice if we kept it. So it looks like we're keeping both of them, or at least for now, we're keeping both of them. All right. And the problem though still is space. You know, if we keep both of them, then that's like one extra bike more than we really planned to keep. But she goes, why is it that my bikes have to go away? Haha, good point. Because why don't your bikes go away? You got a lot of them. So here was my logic behind why my bikes can't go. I mean, I have sold more than half of my bikes, and I still have a lot of bikes. He goes, why don't your bikes go away? I says, well, I have to ride these bikes. He goes, no, you don't. Your obligation's done with these companies. I go, well, that's true. But he says, but on the other hand, some of these are new bikes. If I don't ride the bikes, how would people know about the bikes? She goes, well, and there's the problem we have. That's why the bikes stay where they are. Because I have a hard time letting go of the bikes, and I want to ride them. They all have different abilities that maybe another bike doesn't have. I want to show the bikes, let the viewers see them, see me riding them, so I can comment on them throughout the year, you know. until I get tired of them or something like that, or until the model changes or something, then I will sell them off. Of course, she has a good point. She says, if you sell them off earlier, you probably get a little more money for it. I go, that's true, but we weren't always in this for the money. Remember? If I was in it for the money, I would have taken every bike that was offered me. And I don't do that, as you know. Yeah, we're over 130 bikes that I have basically said no to. So, but I've taken over 30-something bikes now. I don't know what the total is. 31, 32, 33, I don't know, something like that. So, with the ones that are coming in, that is. So I'm not really sure what to think, what to do. I told her that in the office we have downstairs, basically what they would consider the fourth bedroom of the house, right? So the downstairs room. We had converted that into like my office space, right? Let me move over here a little bit. I'm gonna take a left out of here, but I just gotta keep moving. Why do these people stop so long? I don't understand. So if I move the desk out of there, that would open up some space. I can put more bikes in there. But I really hate throwing away a desk that's perfectly fine. But I have nowhere else to put it. I literally don't know where to put this desk. So I have a hard time getting rid of stuff. I really do. I don't like getting rid of stuff that's still perfectly functional. But I know that we probably will have to do something about that desk, because if I can move that desk out of there, I can probably put in another 3 bikes in there, maybe even 4. Anyway, that's what's new. Oh, and I did get a mailbox key for my P.O. box. Yeah, we went in there Saturday and picked up the box key, the mailbox key. Finally had it after 3 weeks. It's kind of ridiculous, huh? Alrighty, anyways, that's about all I have for you guys. That's enough information, I think. So go ahead and start looking at the bikes. If you're thinking of buying a bike, you might want to think quicker. If you do decide to buy a bike from any of the brands that I've reviewed and the like, use the affiliate link that I have in my description of all my videos, or go to russisright.com. That'll send you to russisright.blogspot.com. There's a redirect there. And then use the affiliate links there. That's how I get credit for your purchase. It won't cost you anything more. All it does is just gives me a little commission because they know that it came from me. And then if there's any type of discount code that I offer there, use the codes. It may be still usable, may not be still usable, we don't know. Because depending on when the codes are generated, sometimes the companies expire the codes out, sometimes they don't. But it's worth trying, right? But use the affiliate link to get to the site first. That helps me out. Alright, I appreciate it, guys. Hopefully you can get a bike before the increase in the prices happen. Talk to you guys next time.